inaugural episode of Crane Lake Stories. My name is Matt Addington. I'm part of the storytelling team here at Crane Lake for the Visitor and Tourism Bureau. We just love this place, and we trust that many of you that are watching and listening also have an affinity with this place. And if you don't, hopefully you'll continue to tune in to what we've got to offer here every couple weeks, because we've got so many people with so many great stories about what is truly just a hidden gem in the Minnesota Northwoods, and really the gateway to a much adventure beyond Crane Lake. So today I'm super excited to have along Mike Cherrywell, who is a resident of Crane Lake, works at Voyageur Lodge, and has been in the Crane Lake area for 20 some years. So we appreciate you having on today, Mike.
Hey, no problem, Matt. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your story with, you're not a native to Crane Lake, but, like I said, you've been there 20 plus years. What was your journey like to get there, and what kind of things do you do for a living in the Crane Lake area?
I actually, came to Crane Lake, starting around 96 or 7. I met Bill Congdon out in, Fort Peck, Montana, where I was running in a historic hotel, bar, restaurant. I stopped in one day and we started chit-chatting, and I decided one winter when the hotel was closed down to come to Crane Lake and see what he was all about, actually, and came up and started snowmobiling with Bill and a group of guys, folks around town that were off at that point in time. And 3 years later, he and I had decided to maybe join forces and try to buy this resort down on Lake Winnie. That deal kind of fell through on the signing table, and so I was, Bill and Dina offered me a job at the lodge, and I've been there ever since. Now on the third ownership.
That's awesome. And what was it about Crane Lake? I mean, it's an obvious answer to those of us who have been there and been captured by it. But what were your impressions the first time you came, and what was it about the place that was magical that made you ultimately want to, put roots down there?
Well, I've been in, like I said, I've been in the hotel business, so kind of people oriented, and so when I came, I really didn't know what I was getting into. So I did a couple things early on. I cooked a little bit in the kitchen a few days a week, worked on the docks, dock crew in the summertime, kind of got a feel for things. And then when it was sold to Jim Gretchen, it was natural that I just stayed on to help out the new owners, which entailed, and actually helped myself out, and gravitated from doing a couple things to taking care of the houseboats, mostly in the summertime.
Nice.
And later on got elected as the president of the local snowmobile club, the Crane Lake Voyageurs Snowmobile Club.
That's awesome. So we're going to talk more about snowmobiling, because, and I'll even backtrack to your and I's conversation earlier this week. I initially had reached out to you, thinking about, talking trail report, and something that we want to have as a part of this, as a part of each episode, during the winter, have some snowmobile trail reports, and summer we'll talk ATVs, because that is such a huge draw to the area. People have come from all over the place to ride. And you and I initially talked about that, and boy, we got to talking, and like most things, there's lots of good stories to tell. And we just decided, let's make this into one whole episode. So besides the snowmobiling thing, tell me some of the other things that you and your family, I know your wife teaches in the area up there, some of the other things that have kind of captured your family's interest, and things that you love about, besides being employed and living there, the things that you love to do there.
Well, we're pretty much outdoors, folks ourselves. We do hunt and fish quite a bit as we can, and we snowmobile quite a bit. We just really now getting into the ATV stuff. We both are on the ATV club board. Actually just bought our first ATV here this past fall. So we're getting into that a little bit more, but No, we try to get out and do, we hike a little bit and stuff, but mostly fishermen and hunters.
Sure. You talked about the ATV club and the snowmobile club being involved with those. You've got some other roles in the community and things that you're involved in from leadership and have a vested interest in.
I'm president of the local chamber of commerce, which actually starts in Orr. It's an encompassed area. So I work with that quite a bit, off and on now. So, and then I sit on a couple local snowmobile clubs, so to speak. One's kind of a fundraiser kind of club. The other one is the Voyager Trail Society, which is they deal with the gambling aspect of pull tabs and stuff. They have a grooming operation also up Ash River area towards
Okay. This kind of a little bit off topic. I was telling you about my childhood and growing up there and told you about friends, on Namakan that we have, and you immediately perked up and knew of the folks. Talk just a little bit about the sense of, being on the edge of the wilderness and having all of these lakes connected. Talk about the sense of community though, that you feel just in the area, not just, on the Gold Coast there in Crane Lake, but as you get out into the whole area. Talk about the community feel.
It does, it's everybody out, everybody knows everybody or recognizes faces if they don't know them, as personal. And some learned a few of the Canadian folks who were, have cabins on the Canadian side of the world there. So just meeting folks, being able to, getting out and either meeting them in the bar restaurant or down on the docks if they come in and gas or something to that effect, so it's a big area, small community, a fairly tight-knit community, in the fact that everybody kind of watches out for each other.
For sure. Yeah. It's a special group. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of in this second time through, in my lifetime of coming there. And the folks that you get to know, I mean, it's salt of the earth people that, you don't get the influx of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of visitors every summer, but the ones that do come definitely, feel an affinity and just an attraction to the area. And I think ultimately, what keeps them coming back and hopefully turns into a generational thing if it's not already.
Right. I think half the beauty of that is the fact that when you leave Crane Lake, you're into one of the newest national parks in the United States, in the Voyagers National Park. There's a lot of water out there that you can travel and see. And
right.
We've got people that come up on our houseboats in some time, and some folks have never been further than they want to go. They haven't traveled the whole park. They have their favorite spot that they like to go, and they find it hard to leave that spot to go find something different, which people would, because it's a lot out there to see.
Yeah. I mean, you truly are, like the sign says at Voyager. I mean, it's the end of the road. It's the beginning of the adventure, really. I mean, between Voyagers National Park and the Boundary Waters, and the road comes to an end and the adventure begins, which is really an awesome thing.
Yeah, it's a water only park. In the Voyagers National Park, to be WCA, that's a canoe or kayak. Mm-hmm. In this area, you've got to be a stout person to deal with some of that stuff going through portaging and somewhat off the land, because taking a lot of rations in that way is it's a little bit tighter.
For sure. So you come to the end of the road there, and you've obviously got one direction to go out onto the water, which especially in the spring, summer, and fall is a huge draw. We're kind of getting to the tail end of the snowmobile season, but tell me about the trail system, about the snowmobile club, What offerings are there through that whole kind of, untapped winter season that you guys have to offer?
But it's pretty huge. Um, the trail systems that start in I'd say in Crane Lake, kind of spearhead right off of Voyager. There's 3 different ways that you can travel. You can travel 2 land trails. You can go lake, riding through the park that way. Our particular club, we maintain somewhere around 93 miles of trail and lake system. So that's a detailed process there. You clear stuff in the fall to get ready for winter. You pack trails. When we get enough snow, we start to pack and groom that way. So we groom from Voyager Lodge all the way to Ash River by land. We groom from Voyager Lodge all the way down to the Arrowhead, which is the state trail. Then we groom when we can through the park on the ice. So we, as a club, we maintain 2 groomers now. We help out the community, like the prayer challenge next week. We help them pull the ice track and stuff like that, So as a club, we are fairly busy. We try to stay within the community, help out as we can.
Sure. How big is the club? And I'm assuming you've got members that are not local to Crane Lake.
I have more non-local members, I think, than I have local members, being that the town is so small. We're actually a fairly small club at under 100 members.
Okay, great. What if someone were to kind of look at the end of this season now that we're into March and they were still thinking about trying to get away? What could they expect if they were coming up here in the next, in the last few weeks of snow conditions? I know it's probably not peak, but still some opportunities, I would imagine.
Through this next week, the temperatures are rising pretty much. But I would think that there'd still be some lake riding available. If they wanted to ride, they could always bring up some ice fishing gear and go ice fishing. There was a lot of folks ice fishing over the weekend, Crane Lake all the way through Sandpoint, Namick, and Cabatoga. I rode yesterday with some folks, some friends of ours from New Prague, and we put about 90 miles on. Not a ton, but rideable. The trail system. We're losing snow as the sun comes out, of course, and beats on rocks and ponds and stuff like that. But it's not the best. It's not the worst.
Sure. You've got some events that you do each year. COVID has had its impact on some, like it has on so many things. But yes. You've got the Crane Lake event coming up here Saturday, March 6th, I believe. Can you tell us about that?
We do. We have the Crane Lake Challenge coming this Saturday. The event starts off about 10 in the morning. Speed races. They have NSSR and ISR style classes, which don't really mean a whole lot to me, but they have 57 classes all total, trophies and cash prizes, and there's we cook out on the ice if people are hungry that are on the racing style, and so we try to accommodate folks on the outside so that the restaurants in town won't get so hounded.
Sure. Great. Well, I really appreciate you coming on for, like I said, what turned out to be our inaugural kickoff episode. I really hope that Mike's face and voice is one that as we get into, the end of 2021 and the snow starts coming around again, that Mike will be one that you as a viewer or listener will recognize as somebody that can give you an idea of what's happening on the trails. I think probably fair to say that everybody's willing to wait to hear next year's trail report. Mike, let's get through an ice melt and have a great summer of adventure going out of the Crane Lake area, but we'll certainly circle back to hopefully visit with you every couple of weeks going into next winter. But appreciate you having you on today and sharing a little bit about your Crane Lake story with us.
Hey, no problem, Matt. I appreciate your time, and hopefully this turns out really well and people tune in and listen to us.
So that's it for our first episode. Thanks a lot for joining us here for Crane Lake Stories. Again, my name is Matt Addington. You can plan on joining us here on YouTube, Facebook, download your favorite podcast and listen on the road every couple weeks.